Ladies, let me tell you something. If a man can go 3 days without hearing from you and feel nothing, I need you to hear this clearly. That is not him being busy. That is not him needing space. That is a man who has never once been given a reason to miss you. Today, I'm going to hand you that reason. 3 words. That's all it takes. 3 small words that slip past every wall a man has ever built, land right in the center of his chest, and start playing on a loop in his mind at 2 in the morning. Not, I love you. Men hear that all the time, and for a lot of them, it slides right off like rain off a windshield. Not, I miss you either. What I'm about to give you is something almost no woman ever says, because nobody ever taught her what a man is actually starving for. Once you say these words the right way, at the right moment, something shifts in him that he cannot control, cannot explain, and cannot switch off. So pour your coffee, get comfortable, and let me walk you through this properly, not as a quick trick, but as something you'll actually understand once we're done. Because words without understanding are just noise, and you have made enough noise for men who weren't listening. It's time to speak a language his soul actually responds to. What women are taught versus what actually works. Here's what most women believe, and I don't blame you for believing it, because the whole world raised you on it. You believe a man stays for beauty. You believe he stays because of what happens in the bedroom. You believe he stays because you cook, because you're loyal, because you're low maintenance, because you don't ask for too much. I'm not saying those things don't matter. I'm saying they are not the hook. They are not the thing that makes a man lie awake replaying a conversation. They are not what makes him check his phone, put it down, and pick it back up 30 seconds later. You know that feeling. It's late at night, you're in bed, and your phone lights up. Your whole body reacts before your brain even catches up, and it's him, after days of silence, saying almost nothing at all. And here's the part that stings. You're not angry, you're relieved. You're already typing back before your pride can say a word, because for days you've been waiting for one crumb of proof that you cross his mind at all. That ache has a name. It's the ache of feeling forgettable to a man you can't forget. And it isn't because you are forgettable. It's because nobody ever handed you the key to the room in his mind where a woman gets to live permanently. That's what we're doing tonight. I'm handing you that key. How men actually bond. This is the part nobody teaches you. Not your mother, not your girlfriends, not the movies, not the love songs. A man does not bond the way a woman bonds. You bond through conversation, through being known, through shared vulnerability over time. He bonds through one specific thing, feeling like he matters to the woman he wants. Not because she needs his money, not because she needs his protection. Because she sees something in him that he's terrified nobody else will ever see. Every man carries a quiet question that never really goes away. It isn't, am I rich enough, or am I handsome enough? It's something closer to, does anybody actually believe in the man I'm trying to become? His father probably never answered that for him. His boss doesn't either. A boss grades output, not character. His friends are usually too busy competing with him to affirm him. The whole world evaluates him by what he produces. And if the woman in his life is doing the same thing, quietly grading him on what he provides, then she has become one more scoreboard in a life already full of scoreboards. This isn't a criticism of you. Nobody sat you down and explained this. You were taught to look good, be easy to be around, keep the peace, not be too much. Nobody told you that the real way into a man's permanent memory isn't through his eyes or his stomach. It's through the locked door where he keeps the boy he used to be and the man he's hoping to become. There are 3 words that open that door. Spoken sincerely, they echo in a man. For years I've watched grown men, hard men, men with beards and mortgages and calloused hands, go soft in the eyes, remembering something a woman said to them 15 years earlier. One sentence, 15 years later, still echoing. You've seen this before, haven't you? A woman who wasn't the most striking person in the room, wasn't the youngest, didn't have the most impressive resume, and yet a man orbited her like gravity itself. People whispered, "What does he even see in her?" I'll tell you what he sees. He sees the one place on earth where he gets to feel like a king without having to conquer anything first. That woman, whether she knew it consciously or not, was speaking those 3 words in some form. I know some of you want me to just say them already. I will. But if I hand you a sentence without rebuilding the foundation under it, you'll say it once, it'll feel awkward, and you'll decide it doesn't work. It works. It has worked since the very first woman looked at the very first man and saw more in him than he saw in himself. Maya and Andre. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Maya. 36, successful, the kind of woman whose presence changes the temperature of a room. Maya came to me confused because she'd been dating a man named Andre for 8 months, and she could feel him drifting, not cheating, not lying, just drifting the way a boat drifts when nobody has dropped anchor. She said, "I don't understand it. I cook for him. I look good for him. I support him. I don't nag. I don't pressure him. What else is there?" I asked her one question. When Andre talks about the business he's been building for 2 years, what do you actually say to him? She went quiet. I tell him, "That's nice." I tell him, "I hope it works out." I said, "Baby, you just told me everything. I hope it works out is what you say about the weather. It's what you say about a casserole. That man is fighting a war nobody claps for every single day, and the woman he loves is grading his dream like a side dish." Her eyes filled up because she knew. In 8 months, she had never once told that man she believed in him, not because she didn't, but because nobody had ever told her that belief is the language men keep forever. Hold on to Maya. We'll come back to what she did next. But first, let's go deeper into the mechanics, so you understand this well enough to explain it to your daughter, your niece, or your best friend crying on your couch tonight. The first truth. Here's the first truth, and I want you to actually sit with it. A man does not fall in love with what you do for him. He falls in love with who he gets to be around you. Every woman out there is competing on doing, cooking more, giving more, tolerating more, texting more. But the women who actually stay on a man's mind aren't competing on that at all. They're shaping the version of himself that he gets to experience in their presence. When a man is around a woman who makes him feel 10 feet tall, he doesn't become addicted to her directly. He becomes addicted to the version of himself he gets to be around her. And since that feeling only exists near her, guess whose face shows up uninvited in his mind during a meeting, in traffic, at his cousin's barbecue? This is why the most beautiful woman in the room sometimes gets left, and a quieter woman gets adored. This is why he chased you for 3 months and then went cold the moment you gave him everything. Connection isn't the glue, connection is the doorway. The glue is significance. The glue is a man feeling, in his bones, that in your eyes he is already becoming the man he's praying to become. There is one sentence that delivers that feeling more directly than almost anything else in the English language, where women get it wrong first. Here's where a lot of women go sideways before they even get started. They hear "make him feel significant" and translate it into flattery, complimenting his shoes, his car, his arms. But compliments about things bounce off a man like ping pong balls. He's heard "nice truck" 1,000 times. It costs nothing to say, and it means nothing to hear. What stops a man's heart mid-beat is a woman speaking to his character and his future. Not "you look good," not "you're so smart," but something that tells him she sees the blueprint, not just the building. The male ego, properly understood. Everyone throws around the phrase male ego, and almost nobody understands what it actually means. The ego isn't arrogance. Arrogance is just the costume. The ego is the engine. It's the furnace where every ambition a man has ever had gets burned as fuel. It's why he works overtime. It's why he flinches when you correct him in public. It's why he cannot let himself fail in front of a woman he respects. And here's the secret: the women who get adored seem to know, whether by instinct or by accident, that furnace runs on one specific fuel. Not sex, not admiration, not obedience. It runs on being believed in by a woman whose opinion he actually values. When that fuel is present, a man will move furniture with his bare hands. He'll build businesses, fix his credit, apologize to his mother, learn to communicate, become someone he barely recognizes, and then insist he did it all himself. When that fuel is absent, the same man becomes a stranger on your couch. Remote in hand, soul in neutral. You can cook for him, cry for him, pray for him, and he'll sit there like a radio caught between stations because the words in his house aren't reaching the furnace. So what is the fuel actually made of? We're getting there. And when I say the 3 words, part of you is going to think, that's it? That's too simple. Fight that thought. The most powerful truths are always simple. I forgive you is simple. I do is simple. The sentences that change a life are never long. They're just true and aimed at exactly the right spot. What happens inside him? Before I give you the words, I want to show you what happens inside a man's mind when he hears them, because the psychology matters as much as the words themselves. When a man he respects and desires hears a woman speak real belief over him, 3 things happen in order. First, disbelief. He's been graded his whole life, so he's braced for the catch, the fine print, the but. He scans your face for the joke. This lasts about 2 seconds. Second, exposure. This is the moment that changes men. Something cracks open because nobody, not his friends, not his boss, maybe not even his mother, as a grown man with grown stakes, has said this to him before. He feels seen in a place he keeps locked, and a man never forgets the person who saw him in that locked room. Not at 30, not at 60, not on his deathbed. Third, imprinting. This is the part that explains why he can't stop thinking about you. Once a man associates a woman with the feeling of being believed in, his brain starts tagging her as the source of that feeling every time he faces something difficult, and men face something difficult constantly. His mind reaches for the fuel, and the fuel has your face on it. Your voice becomes the voice in his head. Not because you nagged your way in, but because you lit the way in. He can't think about his goals without thinking about you, because you're stitched into the exact moment he first believed they were possible. That isn't manipulation. That's just what happens when someone meets the person who makes them feel possible. Men just feel it more intensely, because they get it so rarely, and because they're trained from boyhood never to admit they need it. The warning. Now here's the warning, and I need both your ears on this one, because it's what protects your power from being wasted. These 3 words only work when they're true, and only land on a man who has shown you something worth believing in. Say them to a man who has given you nothing but potential and excuses, and you're not inspiring him. You're anointing a stranger. You're handing a crown to a man who hasn't built a kingdom, and he will wear that crown straight into the next woman's living room. These words are not medicine for a sick relationship. They are a coronation for a man already in motion. Don't confuse the two. How do you tell the difference? Watch his Tuesdays, not his words. A man in motion does something small toward his future on an ordinary day, makes the call, sends the email, saves the $50, takes the class. It doesn't have to be big. It has to be real. A man in excuses talks about his future the way other people talk about heaven. Beautiful, unseen, and requiring no actual movement. Speak belief over the first man, and you'll watch him grow into someone with your name carved into the foundation. Speak it over the second, and you'll become his audience. And audiences get replaced the moment the show gets old. The 3 words. You've earned this. Sit up straight. I believe in you. Don't exhale yet and say, that's it. I've been watching some of you feel something you can't quite name, a sting behind the eyes. I'll tell you what that is. It's the memory of what it would have felt like if someone had said this to you at the exact moment you needed it. That sting is the size of the hole these words fill. Men carry that same hole, bigger and deeper. and almost nobody is filling it for them. 4 syllables. But sister, each word is a key turning in a different lock, and I want to take them apart one at a time, because the way you say them matters as much as the words themselves. That word is doing more work than you'd think. When you say, I believe in you, you're not reporting that somebody, somewhere, thinks he's fine. You're staking your own name on him. You're a woman he respects, whose judgment he trusts, and you're stepping forward personally and saying, my eyes have examined you, and my verdict is belief. Men are surrounded by vague goodwill their whole lives. Good luck, man. Hope it works out. That's weather. That's wallpaper. But I believe from one specific woman is a signature on a contract. It's someone with something to lose, putting it on the line. Because men understand risk more intuitively than they understand feelings, the personal stake is exactly what makes it real to him. Believe. This is the engine of the whole sentence. Not hope, not think, not wish, believe. Hope is passive. It sits on the porch and watches the sky. Belief is active. It has already seen the future and come back to report on it. Tell a man, I hope you get that promotion, and you've politely informed him the outcome is in doubt. Tell him, I believe you're getting that promotion, and you've told him the verdict is already in, and he simply hasn't caught up to it yet. Men build their entire lives around what they believe is possible, and with one word you've just expanded what's possible for him. And here's the part that explains the nonstop thinking. From that day forward, he's not just working toward the goal anymore. He's working toward being right about the woman who was right about him. You've braided yourself into his ambition. Rachel and Derek. Let me tell you about Rachel, married to a man named Derek for 11 years. She came to me with tears in her eyes and said, we're roommates, polite roommates who share a mortgage. Derek was a good man, faithful, responsible, paid every bill on time. But somewhere around year 7, the light behind his eyes went out. Dinner, television, bed, repeat for 4 years. Date nights, counseling, none of it moved him. Then one Saturday, almost embarrassed, Derek mentioned a small side project, woodworking, custom tables, something he'd loved at 19 and buried under 2 decades of being sensible. Rachel, who'd heard this exact teaching, didn't say, that's nice. She didn't say, well, don't quit your day job, which is what 11 years of roommate life had trained her to say. She put her fork down, looked at him, and said, Derek, I believe in you. I've watched you build everything you've ever touched. I believe in this because I believe in you. She told me his face did something she hadn't seen in a decade, like watching a frozen lake crack open in spring. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, holding a piece of sandpaper, looking at his wife like she'd handed him back a part of himself he thought was buried. 8 months later, Derek had sold 11 tables, posted his work online, lost 20 pounds, started calling his wife beautiful again, and planned their first vacation in 6 years. 11 years of distance. One sentence, 8 months. The sentence didn't build the business. Derek built the business. But the sentence built Derek. It put fuel in a furnace that had gone cold, and everything else, the marriage, the affection, the vacations, was just the heat coming off it. She told me the strangest part was that he started calling her from the lumberyard, sending her pictures of table legs. Table legs. And I told her that isn't about the tables, that's a man sharing proof with the woman who believed first. In you. 2 small words that most women get completely wrong, and getting them wrong is the difference between a compliment and a coronation. In you means the belief isn't attached to the outcome, it's attached to the man himself. I believe you'll get the job, praises the job. I believe in you crowns the man, and the job just becomes one of the places the crown shows up. Men are terrified, quietly, permanently terrified, that they're only loved for their results. Every successful man secretly wonders if the love would stop the moment the money did. Every struggling man secretly believes he has to produce before he deserves tenderness. In you diffuses both fears at once. It says, my belief doesn't ride on your next win. It's rooted in who you are when nobody's clapping. If the deal falls through, I still believe, because I never believed in the deal. I believed in you. His father approved of touchdowns. His boss approves of quarterly numbers, and then you come along and approve of him, the engine, not just the output. That man will remember the sound of your voice as an old man on a porch. He'll forget entire relationships before he forgets that one. Timing is everything. Now, some of you are thinking, I've said something like that before, and he barely reacted. Let's talk about timing, because it's the difference between water landing on a sponge and water landing on a raincoat. These words hit hardest in 3 specific moments. Say them randomly, and you dilute the power. The first moment is right before he attempts something and the doubt is visible. The night before the interview, the week before the launch, the morning of the hard conversation with his boss. His furnace is burning doubt in that moment. And your words aren't just fuel, they're oxygen. I've had men tell me they were sitting in a parking lot before the biggest meeting of their life, heard their partner's voice in their head, straightened their jacket, and walked in like they owned the building. The second moment is after a failure, and this is the one almost nobody teaches because it's the most powerful of all. Anyone can cheer a winner, it costs nothing, and he barely registers it because the whole world is already cheering. But when he's just been knocked flat, the deal died, they picked someone else, he's sitting in the driveway for 20 minutes because he doesn't want you to see his face. That's when I believe in you becomes unforgettable. Because in that moment, the evidence disagrees with you, and you said it anyway. You've told him his worst day didn't change your mind about his best self. The third moment is the quiet one. No stakes, no interview, no failure. Just an ordinary evening, him talking about some small plan, and you out of nowhere saying, you know what, I believe in you, I just do. This one haunts him precisely because there's no obvious reason for it. He can't explain it away as comfort or routine. He lies in bed that night wondering what you see in him. And now his own mind is doing the work of reinforcing it all night long. That's the loop. That's what Nonstop actually looks like. What cancels the spell. Some of you are unknowingly canceling your own magic with the very next sentence you say. A few to watch for. I just don't want you to be disappointed. He hears that you're pre-forgiving him for failing. That's nice, baby, said while looking at your phone. He hears that his dream is background noise. Well, as long as it makes you happy. It sounds neutral. It lands as, your joy is your problem, not mine. Maybe when things settle down. Life doesn't settle down. Postponing his dream tells him the man he's trying to become can wait, and a man who hears that enough times eventually stops trying to become anyone at all. Say the 3 words, then stop talking. Don't soften them with a joke. Don't follow them with advice about his resume. Let them sit in the air. Silence afterward isn't awkward. It's the sound of a man being quietly rearranged. Tasha and Marcus. Let me tell you about Tasha, because she almost fumbled the whole thing, and her story might save someone watching right now. Tasha met a man named Marcus, divorced, rebuilding, running a small landscaping business that was more hustle than income. She liked him, but her friends were in her ear constantly. What are you doing? You could do better. He doesn't even have an office. So Tasha started grading him. Every date became an audit. Every plan he mentioned got a polite smile and a private eye roll. Marcus felt it the way men always do. He started sharing less. The plans got quieter. Tasha came to me confused, saying he was pulling away. I told her, he's not pulling away, he's folding up the blueprints. You're the only person he was showing them to, and you keep treating them like napkin doodles. To her credit, she course-corrected. The next time Marcus mentioned a big contract he was bidding on, She put her fork down, waited for him to look at her, and said, "Marcus, I want you to hear me. I believe in you. I've watched how you work. And even if you don't get it, I believe in where you're going." His hand stopped halfway to his glass. He looked at her for a long moment and said quietly, "Nobody's ever said that to me. Not even my ex-wife. Not once in 9 years." He got the contract, but that isn't really the point. 6 months later, he told her, "You want to know when I knew it was you? That night. Everything I do now, I do wanting to prove you right." He proposed the following spring. At the wedding, his best man stood up and said he'd known Marcus for 20 years and had never seen him work, smile, or talk about the future like this. That's the mechanism, not a fairy tale. Something as reliable as gravity sitting inside the chest of nearly every decent man you'll meet, waiting for the one woman wise enough to turn the key. Why is it my job to build him up? I know some of you are sitting there, arms crossed, thinking, why is it my job to build a man up? Who's building me up? That's a fair question, and it deserves a real answer. It isn't your job to build a man. It's your power to crown one. A job is something you do because you have to. Power is something you hold because you can. A woman who speaks real belief into a worthy man isn't performing unpaid labor. She's exercising one of the strongest forms of influence one human being can have over another. Men are mirrors. What you pour into the furnace comes back out as heat aimed at you. The small gestures, the effort, the attentiveness, the sense that the day is better because you're in it. A woman who says, "Nobody builds me up," while refusing to offer belief first, is standing in front of a cold mirror demanding it warm up on its own. And to the woman who has poured belief into men who gave nothing back, I see you. This isn't about them. Those men were never actually in motion, and no sentence on earth saves a man committed to standing still. This is about the next one. The one whose Tuesdays show real movement, the one who's earned your eyes, the wardrobe. Some of you are thinking, I can't just blurt out, "I believe in you" at dinner. It'll sound strange. You're right. So here's how to dress the same 3 words for different moments. The ordinary day version. You know what I love about you? When you decide something, it happens. I believe in you. I always have. The night before the big thing version. Look at me. I know what you're carrying into that room tomorrow, and I need you to know I believe in you. Not because I'm your woman and I have to say it, but because I've watched you and I know what you are. The after the failure version, this changes nothing. One bad day doesn't get a vote. I believed in you yesterday, I believe in you today, and I'll believe in you tomorrow. Take a breath and remember who you are. The quiet, out-of-nowhere version, said softly, almost to yourself, while he's doing something completely ordinary. I don't think you even know how much I believe in you. Same 3 words, different outfit for the moment. Say it like you mean it, because you do. And then stop talking. The bigger picture. Let's widen the lens, because this is bigger than a single sentence. A man thinks about a woman constantly when she becomes attached in his mind to his future self. That's the whole game. Everything else, the texting games, the strategic delays, the curated photos meant to provoke jealousy, that's fireworks. Bright, loud, gone in 8 seconds. Nobody builds anything lasting under fireworks. But when a woman plants herself in a man's vision of who he's becoming, she becomes load-bearing. You can't remove a load-bearing wall without the house coming down. He can't picture the successful version of himself without picturing you in it, because you're the one who believed the picture was possible before there was any proof. This is why women who play games win a man's attention tonight, but women who speak real belief win his memory for years. Games create anxiety, and anxiety fades the second the game ends. Belief creates identity, and identity doesn't fade. I've spoken with men in their 60s who still sit up straighter talking about a woman who believed in them decades earlier. Sometimes women they didn't even end up with. That's the depth of this imprint. You're not trying to win his attention. You're trying to become part of his foundation. Attention wanders, foundations hold to the tired woman. I want to speak to one specific woman for a moment because I think she's listening and she's exhausted. She has given and given. She's clapped for dreams that turned into excuses, forgiven failures that turned into patterns, spoken life into men who took that life and spent it somewhere else. And right now she's thinking, this is beautiful for someone else. My believing days are done. They're not done. They're getting more discerning, and that's a different thing entirely. The problem was never that you believed. It was the address you sent the belief to. You were delivering something valuable to a vacant lot. That doesn't make what you were carrying worthless. It means the address was wrong. The words still carry all their power. You're just going to learn to deliver them in person to a man whose Tuesdays already proved he was building something before you ever opened your mouth. Guard the address, not the treasure. Closing. Notice something about everything we've covered tonight. Not once have I told you to shrink, to be quieter, smaller, or easier to deal with. There's a whole industry of advice telling women to win men by disappearing. I'm telling you the opposite. You win by arriving, by seeing clearly, by speaking plainly. I believe in you is not a small sentence. It's a sentence only a secure woman can say, because it requires you to be confident enough to celebrate a man without fearing that his rising will somehow leave you behind. Insecure love clutches, real love crowns. And here's what the clutching version never learns. A man who rises because of your belief doesn't leave you at the bottom of the mountain. He carries you up with him and tells everyone at the top exactly whose voice he heard when it mattered most. So here's where we stand. You know the 3 words now. You know why they work. The disbelief, the exposure, the imprinting. You know the 3 moments that make them permanent. You know the wardrobe of ways to say them, the sentences that quietly cancel them, and the standard that protects them, because belief is a crown, and crowns belong on men in motion, never on men making excuses. But knowing the words is only half of it. There's a second half most women never get to, what happens after you say them, how a man responds in the days that follow, and the very common way women accidentally undo the exact thing they just built. There's a specific move that takes a man from thinking about you occasionally to reorganizing his entire life around you. And almost nobody talks about it, because it runs against every instinct you've been taught to follow. That's next.